All right, it looks like we are live. So, hello everyone, and welcome to this week's live stream. So, I am just gonna pull up this on my YouTube just to make sure that we are good. Live. So, yes, we are good. Okay. To this week's. So I am trying out a streaming software for this week. So I'm using my laptop and the webcam. Now this is going to obviously change as time goes on and all of that. But yeah, so I do have my live chat pulled up here and all of that. So let's see here. Pop out chat. And so now I can actually close down the window and still see the live chat. So yeah, welcome to this week's live stream. I'm really excited actually about trying a streaming software. I think it's going to make the stream a little bit more interesting to watch. And so I'm really happy about that. As you can see, I've got my microphone on as well. And yeah, so before we get into today's video, let's get into the intro. Sorry, forgot to put the sound back on. So that's one of the things that I can do actually having a streaming software. So there's going to be some hiccups at the start here and all of that. But today's video is going to be about the priorities that change in your life when you have a chronic illness. So essentially, what is, I actually got to keep that window open too. So yeah, let's see here. Gotta get this. I'm gonna move this over. There we go. Okay, now I have, I think, everything open that I want in the way that I want it. Okay. So yeah, I apologize for the obvious growing pains that there is going to be involved in this. It's kind of difficult because I'm learning something new, but yeah, so yeah, it's just going to take some time to get used to it. But anyways, sorry, my nose is really itchy too. I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. Sorry guys, just a second. Okay, so getting into the next thing here is, all right, so the first one I want to get into is you learn to put yourself first when it comes to having a chronic illness. And this is something that happens because you're kind of forced to do it. It's not really something that, it's just something that comes out of the effects of having a chronic illness. So let's get into this. So you learn to put yourself first. This happens in many ways, like prioritizing rest over money, which is, unfortunately, isn't a choice sometimes. You learn your limits. When people now tell me, well, think of your paycheck, I honestly don't really care, because I know that that is going to result in overdoing it. So if I go to my photos here. This photo here is the cycle that I often refer to. And so, you overdo it, results in symptoms and being unable to do anything. And then you have to rest because you're forced to. And, you kind of have another good day. And then this can lead into overdoing it again. And the cycle just repeats. So, sorry, gotta do the right one. I've even labeled them and I still can't get them right. Anyways, so yeah, that's essentially what happens with this, is that people tend to prioritize the kind of material things. So one of the things I often catch myself even saying is, oh, well, think of the money you're gonna make by taking on those extra hours, or think of the hours that you're gonna gain, when it doesn't mean anything if you happen to not be able to continue or to get away with things in the long run because you're trying to rest from overdoing it. Now, I think this is what results in what many people call burnout. So many people have to reach that point of burnout before they learn this. But it happens in chronic illness because of the fatigue. So when you're dealing with a chronic illness, it's that fatigue that you're trying to manage to learn around or to get around, which I've talked about lots of times before on the channel. But the fatigue is something that is just something that you essentially have to get used to. Sorry, I'm trying to find the chat here. So yeah, that's kind of the big thing there, is that you're essentially having to manage that fatigue. So then you end up going through some of these things that take forever for people to figure out otherwise, essentially. Like, it's really difficult because you're having to manage around that fatigue, right? So yeah, that's the biggest thing. Here, just gonna pop that down, keep it in the window there. And yeah, so as I said, it's not always a choice, in the fact that sometimes you want to be able to do things for someone, and because of your illness, you're unable to do that thing because you're having to put yourself first. So I think this putting yourself first and having priorities has its kind of positives and negatives. And a lot of people may not realize actually that this can be a negative as well as a positive. It can be very frustrating to have to manage the fatigue. I've talked about the frustrations of managing fatigue. Those of you who deal with fatigue like I do probably will get that to a certain degree as well, right? So yeah, it's something that is very difficult to manage. Now, the way I phrase this is it's a very positive thing as well, because you learn to prioritize your resting. You learn to prioritize the things in life that matter the most. You learn that, the way you're feeling matters, because essentially, if you're not at the top of like where you feel like you should be, it's frustrating. But if you're not functioning at your best, that is what I'm also trying to say. So by putting yourself first, you can also understand that you have to prioritize your health, or everything else essentially means nothing in the end. There's a certain point that you can't just, you can't keep going because you need that rest time essentially. Okay, so, oops, not that one. Okay. The next one is that your life goals tend to change. And, you know, this one is kind of the part that I've struggled with in the more negative light. But for some people, they may discover what they really enjoy. And this could end up being a very positive thing and actually may end up saving them in the end because, you know, you're not having to do something that you no longer enjoy and you didn't realize you were enjoying it or were not enjoying it because you're given the time now essentially to just be the... So because you're able to make what you're doing now your priority, which is often not a lot when you're dealing with a chronic illness, you may be able to like find out that you're not exactly happy in doing what you're doing. This kind of happened with me actually because of the biochemistry stuff. So I found out that although I really liked the small niche of biochemistry, it really wasn't for me in terms of where the career could go. So, and I also didn't enjoy a whole lot of the topic. So if I had to kind of pinpoint what I actually enjoyed the most, it was the genetics and that kind of stuff. It really wasn't the anything else. It was the molecular genetics that I really liked. And so there wasn't a lot that I was enjoying, of course, but yeah, so it was, yeah, it's just tough to have to find out that when you've spent a bunch of money, I think, is really difficult, and all of that. So let's go to this one. So your life goals tend to change. This has probably been one of the hardest things for me personally. As I was saying, I went from the excitement of finishing a degree to just wanting my pain to just give me a little bit of a break. It's also meant that peers have hit milestones sooner than I have. I wrestle with this as someone who's hates the pressure put on by society to reach certain life goals by a certain time. So, you know, you go finish high school, you go to university or college, you get your degree or diploma, you move on to a career, you might get married, start a family, kind of that very, what I consider almost linear path of expectations from society is just not something that I like as a pressure put on society, but there is a part of me that is sad that I haven't reached a lot of these milestones, and much of it is because of having to prioritize my health and put my health first. So it's not that I haven't wanted to reach these milestones, it's that because you've had to, again, put yourself first, going back to the first one there, your life goals tend to change. And your life goals may not be the same as when before you were diagnosed. And for certain personalities, I think this is a really tough thing, but you know, it's something that does happen. Now, again, here is a photo. Now you can probably not only see that up here, I look a lot different than I used to. So that would be the weight loss there. This photo was taken probably close to one of my highest when I weighed the most, but I don't really want to focus on that. That wasn't the point of sharing this. So in this photo, you can see my degree essentially, and I have that in some of the backgrounds of my videos. So I'm very, very proud that I've obviously got this, because it was a really big struggle to get to the point where I actually completed my program. I've talked about this in many other videos, so I'm not going to get into it here. But essentially, when I was probably the hardest with IIH was, I think, about March, April of the year that I finished my program, which was actually, April wasn't that bad, which was fortunate because I was doing exams. I don't know if just the go, go, go helped me tune my stress down, or if because I did some math and figured out, oh, well, if I do this, this, and this, I'm going to pass and I'm going to get through this, and that took some stress off. Like, I don't know exactly, and I don't remember at this point, but it was definitely a concern. So yeah, it was definitely a thing that was a struggle. And so yeah, that was my degree, and I've talked about my degree. So I have a degree in biochemistry, for those of you who don't know, which I've talked about many times, so I'm sure that you do. And the thing is that the degree may not be something that I'm using to make money as of right now, but the things that I learned during that degree have been priceless too. So, the critical thinking skills is something that I value a lot. Being able to read through medical literature is really, really beneficial. It helped me stay sane a bit during COVID, because I had the rationality and the thinking and the ability to think for myself. And it's not something a lot of people have because they don't have the background for it. Fortunately, I do, to a certain point. I mean, I'm not trained in infectious diseases at all, but, there is at least some that I can understand from the foundation of my degree, right? Even though it's completely different. So yeah, I'm just gonna take a drink here. I've been really bad for staying hydrated, so I need to up that a bit. What else is kind of a thing? Well, the milestones are, again, something that is just, if I dig deep, deep down, I know that it's something that bothers me. However, maybe not in a particular order, but it is something that I would like to achieve eventually, right? But it's just like, you feel like you're kind of letting someone down when you talk to them and you say, oh, I have this degree, and then you're doing something completely different. Like, people, I just feel the pressure, I guess, of not being able to succeed with that part of it. And it's because I've been through IIH and continue to deal with migraines. Like, it's something that is like that because there's a whole background story, but you don't have time to get into that backstory with people. And so yeah, it's one of the ways that priorities have just changed. Like, and getting into the, oops, nope, no. Okay, getting into the next one here. So, you cherish the small accomplishments so much more when you have had to deal with a chronic illness or anything like what I'm talking about. What do I mean by this? Well, actually, let's get into the notes app here. So, sometimes you're proud when the best you can do is change it into a new pair of pajamas Or, have a shower. I've talked about this so many times. The number of times I've struggled to have a shower or just get out of bed when at my worst is too many to count, was too many to count. These memories are now pretty much fading because it's been now about 3 to 4 years since I was at my worst, because I lost the weight mainly in 2019, and it's been a matter of slowly weaning off the acetazolamide and having checkups and finding a migraine medication that works. Like, that's kind of what's been the last few years. It's not really been it's not really been, I'm just wondering here. I can't really show I wonder if I can if I just do this actually. There we go. Now we can. Okay. So it's not really just been about, no, I don't even remember what I was saying. I'm sorry, guys. I'm all over the place tonight. The number of times I've struggled to have a shower or just get out of bed when at my worst was numerous. These memories, as I said, are fading, like I said, because of the time. But, it was like a deep, dark valley of, when at the worst, basically. So, I would have little arguments essentially in my head and getting the urge to get up and have a shower. I knew it was beneficial because it would help me feel better. Like, whenever you get clean or change into new clothes, it just kind of breaks the cycle, and it helps in the biopsychosocial model of illness. And if you guys haven't, make sure you check out Dr. Rachel Zoffness's work. I follow her on Twitter, so if you guys need to, on Twitter here, so you can follow me here, and I share Dr. Zoffness's work, and she talks about how breaking that chain involves so much more than medication, and I definitely agree. So when you're in that, I suggest trying your best to break the chain. I know it's hard to, at least just changing clothes, maybe into something that isn't pajamas, might help a bit in that situation. I think it's one of the things that I wish I would have done a little bit more, is essentially change into different clothes more frequently. I think it would have helped a bit. But as I was saying, this valley was so dark, and you kind of go down a valley, right? And you get to the bottom, and then you start coming back up again. And I kind of feel like on the other end here, I've reached the top of this, or kind of close to the top, about 80% up the hill from where I was, if I want to give an analogy for this. So, because things were so bad a few years ago, you kind of get to the point when you've been like that for a while, where it just doesn't feel like things are going to change. So when things do change, as they inevitably do, and you're able to do more, whether that's because you find a medication that works, whether you have lifestyle changes that helps, things like my mindfulness and meditation, things like doing workouts to lose weight, and getting the IIH into remission has been huge. Getting off the acetazolamide has been huge for this. You get to that point, and you can essentially make it so that things are so much better that everything, even the smallest little things, makes such a huge difference. So, not only do you get excited about maintaining a routine, but you get excited about things like, oh my goodness, I haven't missed a day of work, or oh my goodness, I can have plans with friends now and not have to text them and say, oh, I had a migraine come up, or oh, I've had an IIH attack and now I'm too tired to come. Like, and you can actually maintain those relationships. So one of the things I didn't have written down here, but I think is really important to talk about, is that you will lose people that you thought were the best people in your life, while at the same time, you will gain so much out of the people that you meet as a result of illness. So you lose, unfortunately, people who are really close, that may be close friends, that may be family, which is devastating. It happened to me. But, you know, you gain so much more out of it than just, you gain so much more out of it by the people that you end up meeting on this path. And I think that's something that does need to be emphasized, because people don't realize that you do tend to lose people, but you'll gain hopefully better people in the process. And as a result, you know, you may gain friends who completely understand and all of that, but I think explaining this to people, and, you know, it's exciting when you no longer have to miss out on events. And I'm not saying that everyone's going to get to that point. The only reason why I am where I am today is because the Aimovig has been extremely successful. So the Aimovig has essentially almost been a miraculous drug for me. Like, it has put me into a situation now where I don't know what I'd do if I wasn't able to have this medication. It would mean a completely different lifestyle again. Like, so I'm able to be pretty much almost normal with this. And there are, of course, exceptions that I've talked about and things beyond my control. But pairing the Aimovig, which is biological, with the mindfulness and meditation, which I think helps both the psychological and the social aspect of this, is why I've been so successful in being where I am today. And again, if you're wondering more about this biopsychosocial stuff, make sure you check out the podcast again with Dr. Rachel Zofnis. And again, you can find that on Twitter, and I often do share her stuff on Instagram too, so make sure you're following me in the stories and all of that, so that you never miss out on those kind of things. And so yeah, let's see here. Topic, title, slides, and so getting into this topic, the next topic is, I value happiness now, and this is kind of related to the first one, but I value what makes me happy over pretty much everything else. So what do I mean by this? Well, what makes me happy generally results in sorry, I got a notification. I forgot to turn off my phone. So essentially, what makes me happy is more of a driving factor now than a lot of these external motivations. So I do my YouTube streaming because it's something I enjoy. I do my I do make my videos because it's something I enjoy. I go out and I do the photos with the aurora, or like the ones you've seen with the lunar eclipse on my Instagram. Like, that's kind of another thing that I really enjoy, is taking photos of cosmological events and all of that. And it's just something that is, I think, really an important thing to mention and all of that. So yeah, I don't know. It's something that is really difficult to explain, but I'm gonna do it with the notes. So I am probably the happiest I've ever been right now because of how bad things got at my worst. Things I do now, I just feel are a bigger deal than before because I've struggled so much in the past few years with just doing the basic things that I mentioned in the previous section. It's not just about what I can do though, it's that I make time for the things that bring me the most happiness. And again, this is focusing and giving time to my creative work, whether that be with the videos or whether that be with the photography. It could be educating people on how difficult life is with chronic illness, which is what I'm doing right now. And just being able to function on a schedule is enough to bring me happiness. Like, it's something that is so small, but it's also so big. And when I think about why I'm happy where I am, doing what I'm doing, it's because things got so bad about, what was it, March of 2019, I'd have to go back in my content, but I think it was actually April to May of 2019. So it was in the spring, which is already difficult. With migraines, spring is already difficult. It depends on how much bad weather you're getting, especially with me, because weather is one of my triggers. But I was also put on the Topiramate at that time. And to this day, the Topiramate video, I think, is one of my most popular videos. So again, if you haven't checked that out, make sure that you do. Just type in Topiramate and then my channel, and it should come up. It may even come up right away because it's done so well. But listen to that story. I'm not going to tell it again because I have a whole video on it. But that Topiramate experience was the lowest point of this entire journey. And it was the most difficult because I was the most sick. Now, I think a lot of it had to do with the side effects of the medication were just too much for me. And I wonder too if there was some issues with it because I was also still on the acetazolamide at the full dose along with the Topiramate. So it was causing problems that way. I'll never know because I've never been just on the Topiramate. But that medication was horrible. And I think I barely remember any of it actually because I felt like I was a zombie the entire time. But it was really, really difficult. It was horrible in so many ways that it's just hard to put into words now. Number one, because I really don't remember it. Like, I've tried to honestly block it out of my memory because it was that bad. But it was also just a terrible time. Like, so I was beyond frustrated because I had actually been on a medication that I felt was doing what it needed to do, but was kind of a contraindication, I guess, in my case. So I was on amitriptyline for a couple of months, but my neurologist didn't like it because it can actually cause weight gain because of the class of drug that it is. And so I was put on the Topiramate because it was kind of better and both used in IIH, and used in IIH. And then, but the thing is I really didn't, I don't know, it was basically contraindicated. And I felt like I was managing those contraindications with the weight issue just fine, but I guess it's better to have something that isn't where you have to count every calorie too. So I kind of get it, but it was frustrating in a lot of ways because it just felt like, it's just difficult to explain this because it's from something that I really don't remember all that well. So I'm just gonna leave it there. But so, like I said, I struggled so much in the past few years that every little thing, like just maintaining a schedule is like one of the biggest deals, and like not having to cancel plans on people. Like, they're like, oh, can you make it to this thing in like 5 days from now? I used to have to tell people, I'll let you know on the day, because I don't know how I'm going to be feeling in 4 hours from now, let alone 5 days from now. Now I can kind of guess based upon, where I am in my period, what the weather is going to be like, and how overall my fatigue levels are from work. But the thing is that I'm almost never to the point where I can't function at all. So because I'm able to function, there may be a lower productivity, but I'm still able to enjoy those events without having to completely miss them. So the Aimovig has made such a difference that it's not only preventing me from being unable to function at all, but on the days with lower productivity, I'm able to function enough that I can do the things that I need to do. And that is the biggest thing. So it essentially means no longer canceling plans. Now, a lot of issues were addressed when I came off of the acetazolamide. So when I came off of the acetazolamide, a lot of side effects went away. So the tingling and numbness in my hands and my fingers and my feet went away. It did, I don't remember, but I think it did take a little bit. The fatigue dramatically improved with every reduction in dose. And then now, like I say almost all the time, my fatigue levels are about 80-85% depending on the day. Now it can drop a little bit lower depending on some of those external migraine trigger factors that I talk about, but it generally isn't an issue where it's, to the point where I can't function, because I don't know if my fatigue levels really get to a point where I'm really concerned about them. They might if I'm at the end of a really, really long stretch at work or something like that, but it's never to the point where it's a really, really major thing. I'm just trying to think. Sorry about the door closing. What I need to do is for my next stream is to create another audio channel so that I can actually mute the audio coming from the computer. So I will remember that for next time to try and minimize the audio coming out of the computer. So yeah. I'm just trying to think though if I have really anything else to say with this. It's just hard to get into how difficult life was before the Aimovig, and because I've been on it now for as long as I have, it's hard to remember what it was like before it, when it was not, or when migraine medications weren't working and all of that. So yeah, I don't know. I also, not only with the medication, but I also I think understand that I have these limits now, and that I have to set these priorities, and I follow these priorities really, really strictly. So because of that, there's never really I'm not really thinking about much anymore, because I've just gotten used to, there's a certain level of priority that I have to do and all of that. So I don't know. It's really hard to explain. But because, like I said, I got so low, that's one of the reasons why I'm so thrilled when I can do all the things that I can do today, I guess. So with that being said, I don't even know how long I've been going here. Oh wow, we're at 40 minutes. Okay, it's time to, I think, end this one. That's really, really long. Sorry guys, I didn't mean for this to go so long. But let's see. So, looks like haven't really been paying much attention to the chat, but yeah, so let's go into the ending here. So, as you guys know, I am on social media platforms. You can find me, oops, wrong direction. No, this way. So you can find me on Instagram at AshleyStewart94, On Facebook, just search for my page. So there's a lot of cross-posting that I do between these platforms because I kind of like to meet people where they're at. So I don't say like, in order to find this particular content only exclusively found here, follow me on this platform or this platform or this platform. It's more like, come meet me where you're at. So if you prefer to use Instagram, follow me on Instagram. If you prefer to use Twitter, follow me on Twitter. If you like TikTok, come and watch the shorts there. There's not really, anything about that is a really big issue. But the thing I do want to plug is locals. So I don't have a app logo because I couldn't find one that I knew was copyright free. So instead, I'm just going to plug this. So in the description, there is a link for a platform called locals.com. Now here, you have the ability, if you become a supporter, now you have to pay the $5 a month if you want to become a supporter to get the ability to message me. However, now to view supporter-only content, it's only $2 a month. It's the lowest I could set it at. I wanted to do $1 because that's what Patreon does at the start. So it's kind of similar to Patreon in the way it works, but it's on a startup called locals.com. And if you want to learn more, just check out what I share on Twitter, essentially. So this direction. I follow them and you can find them that way. Or you can check out Dave Rubin's stuff. But the reason why I like this platform is because in order to participate, you have to be a supporter. So this counts for live shows, it counts for in the comments I don't know if you have to become a supporter to like posts, but in the community that I am on this particular app, we are very, very close because everyone has skin in the game. Because you have to, in order to share stuff in the community, in order to even just comment on a public post, you have to be a paying supporter for that community. So it's one of the reasons why I like it. It gets rid of the trolls. It gets rid of all of the mumbo jumbo that you see in comment sections on YouTube because you have to be a real person, essentially. So yeah, that's my plug for that. I probably lost everybody at this point. But if we get enough people on here, I can start doing live streams just to locals. So that would be a fun little thing to do. And the link for that is in the description, like I said, because I don't have a fancy app to show it here. So yeah, that's one of the things. But anyways, guys, I think that's it for this one. I am going to end it right here. I hope you guys have enjoyed this particular live and all of that. Next time, I don't know if we have any comments. Doesn't look like it. But yeah, come and, enjoy. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss any of these live streams. I am trying to keep them at a similar time. Next week, I do actually work later on our scheduled stream day, so I don't know if there'll be a stream or not. I apologize for not having a stream last week, but where I was in my stretch, I was exhausted and I needed that time. So it was me saying, no, I cannot do this. And if you guys help me get to 500 subscribers, I actually get a community tab and I can post about changes to the stream in just a quick fashion directly onto YouTube, so that I can say there's gonna be no stream tonight, I'm way too tired, or I can share photos like you can on a Facebook. And so yeah, hit the subscribe button, help me get to 500 so we get that feature, and then we'll aim for 1,000. That's just the biggest plug, I guess, for that is subscribe, like, comment, all that juicy face YouTube mumbo jumbo that we always talk about when we're creators. But yeah, that's it for this one, guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye for now. And now I gotta figure out how to end this thing. So